Now that you're familiar with the gallery layout, we're going to click into this canvas that I've pre-made and just go over the tools in Procreate. Some of these tools you may have used before, but some might be new to them. So we're going to go over them together and kind of just walk through some of the features. So to return to that gallery, I already mentioned that you're going to click on the gallery button. The wrench that's right next to it in the top left corner here is the actions toolbar. And in here you have an option of inserting a file, inserting a photo, taking a photo, and you can cut, copy, and paste. Under Canvas, you could turn on something called perspective guides, which is actually really useful for more architectural style drawings and of course perspective drawings. You can also flip your canvas horizontally and vertically. Here's another way of sharing your canvas. So I showed you how to do it in the gallery mode. You can also do it from within inside of your artwork. And then this is a great feature of the program, which is the time-lapse recording. So when you go into the video preference, I would recommend making sure that your time-lapse recording button is turned on, because what it's going to do is it's going to show you a replay of you drawing within the app. Which is just really amazing to see your process. It can kind of be a way of documenting your growth as an artist or a way of kind of sharing your process with other people. So that's something that I find really useful, and generally speaking, I find that it speeds it up quite a bit. So it roughly gives you an hour of recorded video per, I would say, about an hour of drawing time, or sorry, a minute of recorded video per hour of drawing time. If you go to the preferences, you have a whole bunch of different preferences. The one that I'm going to point out to you right now is just this interface one. So this is just if you'd like a light interface versus the classic dark interface, you can just toggle between them. And then you also have a help button. The next tool here is the adjustments area. So it looks like a magic wand. And here you're going to get all of the adjustments that you would see in any photo editing app. So you can adjust things like opacity or blur or noise, hue, saturation, and color. There's a lot of options in here for you to use on individual layers or possibly your whole canvas. The little ribbon looking icon is your selection tool. And it's a really cool feature that you can use for masks, and you can also use it in conjunction with the transform tool. So I'll just kind of quickly show you that right now. If I draw with my selection tool and I have it set to freehand, it also has an automatic option that we can talk about later. But if I set it to freehand and then I click on my arrow, which is my transform tool, you'll see that it's selected only that area. And what I can do is I can isolate parts of my drawing. All of this writing is on one layer. So this gives me the opportunity to possibly maybe even copy and paste this onto a new layer, or just manipulate one portion of my drawing. So I can stretch it, I can really do a lot of things with it, and of course move it around the canvas. And then you can undo at the bottom here and it'll go back to its original state. And then of course that's the transform tool. I mentioned everything's on a layer here. So if I click on that transform tool, whatever layer I happen to be in, I'm able to transform it. Over here we have our paintbrush icon, which is where we can find all of our tools. And what I love about Procreate is just the amount of digital media that's available within the app. So you can pretty much find absolutely any kind of material that you would use in traditional art is available in a digital form in the app. And we're going to talk about brushes in a lot more detail throughout the course. So we will talk about modifying them and creating our own custom brushes later on. But for now, it would be just really great as a starting point to start exploring the brushes, going through and seeing which ones are your favorites, what kind of textures they create, what you can do with those various brushes. And you can also import and create your own brushes, which is something we'll also talk about later in the course. And then you have your smudge tool here that looks like a finger icon. So that is exactly what it sounds like it would be for. It's for smudging out your mediums or your paints. You have an eraser here. And one thing that's great about the eraser in Procreate is that if you click into it, you can actually choose what brush you're using for your eraser. So it can be very precise, and the eraser can become a tool within itself for creating art. Right now I have it set to a calligraphy script pen because I was doing some precise line work drawing earlier. Normally I would have it set to the round brush, which would give me kind of a standard eraser effect, but I've even set my eraser before to a watercolor brush or something that's really organic and interesting and kind of created textures with the eraser. And then next you have your layers panel. And everything that I've written is on one layer, but I've created another layer here just to show you guys that they stack on top of each other. So your first layer is always labeled layer 1, and then you can press on the plus button to create more layers. And then you also always have a background color that you can easily go into and change the entire background. So if you like working with a toned canvas over a standard white canvas, that might be something that you want to work with. And then, of course, last but not least over here, we have color palettes. I tend to use the standard disc mode, but you can also use the classic mode, the values mode, and then in the last toolbar, there's the palettes. So these are palettes that I've either created or have been given. So we're going to talk about in a future lesson as well, working with color palettes and specifically working with color too. Okay, over here on the left is where you adjust your brush size, so making it bigger or smaller. Here's where you can modify your brush by clicking into it. You can see what color is selected. Here is where you adjust the opacity. So you can see, maybe you guys, hopefully you can see in the preview, you can make it darker at full, at its full capacity there, or you can reduce the opacity and make it lighter or more transparent. And then you have your undo button and your redo button. And the shortcut for undo is a 2-finger tap, which will become really useful for when you're using the program.